Just when you thought things couldn't get worse, when you figured there's no way this could get any more embarrassing, there's no way this team can make it any harder to tune in on Sundays and dedicate my time and misery, Woody Johnson gets in front of a microphone and a camera, and it's story time all of a sudden. I'm Glenn Naughton with Jet Nation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log on to JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. You've heard it by now. It's been talked about ad nauseum. We're going to kick off the show tonight by talking about it a little bit and then move on to some other stuff that people really don't want to hear about, but we're going to cover it anyway. Woody Johnson, New York Jets owner, meets with the press at the annual owners meeting and just puts Justin Fields on blast. And if you listen to Woody, not just the comments, and believe me, I am not defending Woody Johnson with what I'm about to say. But whenever Woody Johnson gets in front of a microphone and says something silly, he looks really uncomfortable. And I don't know if it's that he knows he's about to say something that's not going to go over well, or if he just isn't good in front of a mic and just his brain is racing and he's trying to say something and be a little bit honest. But it's almost like when he was trashing Fields yesterday, you could almost feel like he was starting to backtrack immediately. And again, this is just me guessing because this day and age, you just don't hear owners throw guys under the bus in public mid-season like this. But Woody Johnson was asked about Aaron Glenn and Justin Fields and how things are going. And he says, I trust in Aaron Glenn. He looks like he's turned around the defense and the special teams. It's the offense. And then he says, if you look at the he starts to stumble right away. If you look at the he's like not a football guy and couldn't think of the word. If you look at the rating that our quarterback has, like who does that? Who talks about? I mean, if you're doing a statistical analysis of a quarterback or a deep dive, yeah, you talk about QBR. No one throws out your quarterback rating as the first thing you reference in talking about the offense or the quarterback. And just the way he said it was very like someone who's just learning about football, right? Or doesn't really speak about it often, right? Well, if you look at our quarterbacks, the rating, something, what do you say? And then he realizes I've just kind of trashed him. Let me say something. He's got the ability. He's got the ability. His rating's bad, but he's got the ability. But something's not jiving. Something's not working. He then goes on to say, it'd be nice if he could complete a pass. And that's the point where you're like, maybe this is intentional because that's a shot. Like of all the things he said, that's probably the biggest shot, right? It looked good if we could complete a pass. So I'm watching him. I'm like, is he awkward? Is he trying to rip him? Is he trying to just send a message but not go overboard? Oh, now he just went overboard. So I'm trying to keep up with him and give him the benefit of the doubt. But all this adds up to is you don't get the feeling that Woody goes in there. He knows what he's going to be asked. You don't feel like he goes in there with a plan of how he wants to address these questions. And so he ends up saying and to me, I say all the time, I love coaches calling players out, like on the sidelines, in game, grab a dude's face mask, get in his face. All that stuff's fine. I don't think it's right for ownership. And again, say what you want, you own the team, but just because you can say what you want doesn't mean you're helping the team when you do that. So, I mean, despite Justin Fields' terrible performance, and who hasn't, other than Aaron Glenn, who hasn't been honest about Justin Fields' performance? Right? Aaron Glenn said a couple weeks ago, oh, yeah, Justin's had one bad game. I mean, come on. Throwing touchdowns when you're down by 20 points in the fourth quarter doesn't really move the needle for a lot of folks. But again, everyone's been pretty honest about Fields' performance. I don't have a problem with that. I just think for the owner, like those were behind closed door meetings. Right? Praise in public and, criticize behind closed doors. And that's the way this should have been done. If at all, Woody could just leave it to Aaron Glenn. And look, he can be critical. He can say, yeah, Justin hasn't really been as good as we'd hoped he would, but, we'll see what happens. Then that would have been fine. That would have been an accurate assessment without saying, hey, it'd be nice if we can complete a pass. And then he puts it all on Fields. People like, oh, and this is where Aaron Glenn, and I feel for Aaron Glenn. He's not going to come out and say Mr. Johnson's wrong. He's not going to say, I disagree with everything Mr. Johnson said. He's going to say, look, Mr. Johnson's the owner. And then Aaron Glenn tries to say that everyone's been saying the same thing. Mr. Johnson's just saying what we've all said. Nobody, not Justin Fields, not Aaron Glenn, not any coordinator, nobody has come out and said, we are 0-7 because of Justin Fields. And that's essentially what Woody Johnson said. Those were not his exact words. But when you say, these are the results any team would get with this kind of quarterback play, that's what he's telling you. That if you put this quarterback on 31 other teams, these are the results they would get. He would be the common thread. He would be the cause. That's what Woody Johnson said. And then Aaron Glenn has to come out and go, he was critical, and we've all been critical. Justin Justin has said he has to be better. Woody Johnson didn't say Justin has to be better. Woody Johnson said Justin can't complete a pass, and he's why we're 0-7. That's some harsh stuff, folks. It's, again, I'm not saying it's wrong. I mean, you could argue, look, if you want to really dig down into this and go game by game, fine, week 1, if Xavier Gipson doesn't fumble, perhaps the Jets win a game. That one's not on Justin Fields. He played well that week. You had a lead against Tampa, but let's be honest, that was because of specials. But if Tampa doesn't hit the last second field goal, maybe that's a win. So you can say, and that it wouldn't be incorrect to say the Jets are 0-7. No, sorry. I think it would be incorrect to say that it's all on Justin Fields. However, I'd say about, at this point, the last 2 weeks, I mean, think about what I just said, right? You had a lead against Tampa. You had a lead against Pittsburgh. Both late, took a huge miscue, kind of miracle play. 60-yard field goal in one game, a last-second long field goal in another. And I know we're not going to do this whole if thing, and here's how they could have won this, and here's how they could have won that. But these are games where they had the lead in the closing seconds, closing minutes. They win those games, and then you've got any other quarterback under center the last couple weeks, and you got a dude who gets you 17 points. That's 4 wins. And I get it. They didn't happen. They didn't win. But I'm just saying that this team is 0-7. Yes, it's embarrassing, but the owner isn't helping by coming out and publicly saying this player is the reason why we're 0-7. Because as we said, you can look and you can point to games where Fields wasn't the problem. But again, he has been the majority of the problem. These last 2 weeks against Denver, against Carolina, your defense is lights out, and you can't get a touchdown. If you take into account the holding onto the ball and the sacks he's taking over his past 6 quarters of NFL football, Justin Fields is throwing for a net 6 yards per quarter. I mean, I did a video a couple weeks ago saying, is this guy the worst quarterback we've ever seen as a Jet? Which is unbelievable to consider. But are you really going to tell me? I mean, we could go back. I would be shocked if any Jets quarterback I've ever seen in my life had a 1.5 game stretch in which they averaged 6 yards passing to go along with a game where they had a 1.1 QBR. Like, these are some historically bad, and this is in how many starts? 6? 6 starts. And you've logged 3 of the worst games anyone's ever seen anyone play. And look, Aaron Glenn, like I said, he can come out and say all he wants that, this is Justin's had one bad game. That's what he said last week. Now, of course, he would now include the Carolina game, and he might tell you that Justin Fields has had 2 bad games. I think it's preposterous. And I think even Aaron Glenn says that, he's got to know that. And then Justin Fields reacts. And one thing about Aaron Glenn's reaction and Justin Fields' reaction, I don't love the pretending you don't know what was said. I mean, come on. Come on. just be honest. Just say, listen, I saw the comments. It's unfortunate that this is where we are, but we're going to work to dig our way out of it. And that's it. That's it. Aaron Glenn meeting with, when he met with the media. I haven't read, I don't know. You're telling me what Woody said. I didn't read all the comments. Really? Justin Fields, I'm not on social media. I didn't hear about it. Come on, man. I mean, I feel bad. And I'm not piling on and trashing Justin. I wish everyone just come out and be honest about it. I feel like stuff like that, just make it go away a little quicker, make it easier to move on than to say, I don't have Twitter, so I didn't see what the owner said about me. Nobody told you. Nobody in your life was like, "Hey man, I'm really sorry to hear what the owner said." And then you like Google it. What did he say? Am I cut? Did he say I'm the worst? Did he say I'm this? Like you want I would think you'd want to know. I mean, you're a competitor, right? You're a professional athlete making $15 million a year, not winning games. The owner says something. You should be curious. There should be a natural curiosity there. Oh, damn, what'd he say? And I'm sure he did. I'm sure Justin Fields saw it. I'm sure Aaron Glenn has done this a few times. Aaron Glenn, God love him, hasn't been great with the media. He loves to say he doesn't read the papers and he doesn't know what anybody's saying about the team. But then he slips up and he'll make a comment. Oh, well, you guys said this and so said that. Well, if you're not reading about if you're shutting out the outside noise and you don't know what anybody's saying about the team because it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what's going on in this building and blah blah blah. Why do you know all of these things that people are saying? And I'm not saying he should get like worked up about it or change who he is because of it. I'm not saying any of that. I just don't understand the point in saying, like kind of going out of your way. Just don't mention whether or not don't make a point of telling everyone that you're not listening to what people are saying if you are listening to what people are saying. Just at worst, just don't address it. Or if you do address it, just say, oh, I'm, somewhat aware. I think something along these lines. I think this is what was said. That's fine. But don't be like, I don't listen to you guys. I don't. It again, it reeks of like I'm gonna, separate myself from this by pretending I don't know what was said, and I'm gonna say I'm cool with anything that's said, no matter what. Justin Fields, pretty laid back approach. Said he's happy with where he is or something to that effect. Um, it's so ugly, and everything has to be ugly with this team, right? It can't just be function well, and when things aren't functioning well, put your head down and work and get out of it. There's got to be silliness. There's got to be this stuff, and Woody's done this in the past. Woody ripped Zach Wilson when Zach was the quarterback. Woody ripped Zach Wilson this offseason when he wasn't a Jet, right? He kind of, what was it? And let's not let Woody off the hook here. By the way, on the Justin Fields acquisition, what did Woody say when they signed Justin Fields? Oh, the year he came out, it was between him and Trevor, as in Trevor Lawrence. So Woody told you this offseason that he thought the best quarterback coming out that year was Fields or Trevor Lawrence. Left Zach's name out of it. Left out the name of the guy you picked. And now this was the guy you really wanted. And now he stinks and you're throwing him under the bus. And this is your front office that did it, Woody. You brought in Muji, you brought in Aaron Glenn, and I've said this from the beginning. And it's just vibes. I don't do the fake source thing. I know someone in the building who said you're not going to get that here, but the vibe I get when I look at Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji is that Aaron Glenn's the alpha and he's making the calls. And what did Mike Florio from PFT report the other day? That Aaron Glenn wanted Aaron Rodgers gone and Darren Muji wanted to bring him back. And who won that? And I'm sure Woody had a hand in that. I'm sure Woody wanted him gone as well. But again, this comes as no surprise. I've said it many times in the past. I have a hard time looking at Muji and Glenn and thinking if they're in a deadlock over who to get, who to sign, what move to make, Aaron Glenn's going to win out. He's got a little scouting experience. He's, legacy guy, liked in the building, higher profile. I would imagine, and again, this is what Florio's saying on the Rodgers thing, that Aaron Glenn's going to get his way. And Aaron Glenn told us this all. He said many times he heaped praise on Justin Fields, which is you expect it. Like I said, I didn't have an issue with bringing Justin Fields in. I didn't, excuse me, I didn't think he was a great player, but I understood the market. There wasn't much out there. So you take a shot on a high profile guy, or I should say a high ceiling guy, and you hope things work out. And they didn't. Things didn't work out. Justin Fields, if Tyrod Taylor stays healthy, Justin Fields may never take another snap as a Jet. Who knows? And then he might play. If he isn't healthy, if Tyrod isn't healthy, which he's apparently day to day, but Aaron Glenn says this is nothing new. It's just sort of the lingering knee thing that he had scoped in the preseason. But bottom line, Tyrod Taylor is not 100%. If he gets hurt, do you then go back to Justin Fields? Me personally, I would go to Brady Cook. And people can laugh and say, I can't help but laugh when people, and I've had several people say it. Glenn, Brady Cook's just not ready yet. Not ready what? To not lead to any touchdown drives? To not get any wins? So he would fit right in with the guys who are ready. I would bet Brady Cook could average 6 yards passing per quarter. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he'd be worse. But you can't lose more than never winning. You're 0-7. All right, so let Brady Cook go 0-7 and get you closer to that top pick. And, again, I cannot believe how far removed are we from the New England Patriots drafting Drake May because the Jets won a meaningless game in the final week of the season to beat Bill Belichick and handed Drake May to the New England Patriots, the now first place New England Patriots who have a franchise quarterback because they were picking high enough in the draft to get their guy. And they have the Jets to thank for it. The Jets, who can't draft or develop a quarterback to save their lives, hand one to the Patriots in a meaningless win. And I still got people, no, win. Do everything you can to win. Look, people love 4-win seasons more than I ever imagined. Unfathomable that people are cheering on. And look, and I get the whole, just because you're picking first doesn't mean you get the right guy. Duh. Yeah, we know that. However, you have no choice but to trust your front office. Here's your choices. Stop rooting for the team or root for the team. Those are your options. And you're free to do either one. Hell, I even said someone the other day, that's not an option for me. And I feel like at 30, however many years of fandom, it doesn't feel like an option. But if you're at the point where you're not only rooting against the team now, but rooting against them for the future, don't lose games because you'll definitely mess up the pick. I think they could pick the right guy. I'm worried about who's going to develop that guy. No matter who they draft, I'm looking at it who's Charles London? Is he still going to be around? Is it going to be a bunch of guys who've never developed a quarterback being tasked with turning this franchise around and developing a quarterback? It's concerning, but I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I don't care if they get to pick their guy or not. So what if they're picking 5th instead of 1st? That's a big deal. As I have no choice but to trust the front office, I want them to have as many options as possible. Are they going to get it wrong? Probably. But I'm not going to sit there and just be like, yeah, give me 3 or 4 wins and the 4th best quarterback on their board. Nobody's saying that a top pick guarantees anything. I've had people on Twitter and, friends that I've talked to offline about, what do you want to happen? And and you hear, we're Jets fans. We're used to these conversations, right? Every few years we have to talk about, do we tank or do we try to win 3 or 4 games? And it's always the same thing. It doesn't guarantee anything. You could still miss. Yeah, we all know that. But believe in the front office or don't. Hell, I could argue that wanting the first pick is being even more critical of the front office. I don't think they can make a tough decision. Please let them be first. So if one of these quarterbacks between now and the draft rises all the way to the top to where they are clear-cut, unquestionably, no doubt, QB1 in this draft. Whew. All right. I don't have to worry about the front office screwing it up. I don't have to worry about them picking third and having to pick between 2 or 3 quarterbacks who are fringe top 5 guys, and a couple of them could, like, this dude rose to the top. He is the clear number 1, and we've got that pick. All right, we can't screw that up. Now, yes, now there's the question of development, because you can still screw it up. I don't know if you've noticed the way Sam Darnold's playing football right now. But yes, picking a quarterback early guarantees nothing. But I want my team to have the pick of the litter. And so when fans are like, I want wins. Okay, good. Let's make it even more difficult on an organization that's been unable to find a quarterback for multiple decades now. Let's make it even harder. So that we can win a game that no one is ever going to talk about again in history. Ever. Even we beat Belichick in his final game. Yeah. When was the last time you sat down with your buddies and said, hey guys, remember that week 17 game? That week 18 game against the Pats? Man, that was awesome. No, who cares? You sucked. It was another losing season. It's a game that was forgotten by anyone who mattered the second it ended. And the Patriots got Drake May for it. And I still got people saying, no, let's win a few games. Makes no sense to me, man. Makes no sense. I don't get it. Don't get it at all. What I do get, however, and I think most Jets fans do, is a tweet from Jermaine Johnson, Jets DN Jermaine Johnson, tweeting out the always popular "I'm not going anywhere" scene from Wolf of Wall Street. Seems Jermaine Johnson has some assurances. I wouldn't imagine he'd tweet that out if he hadn't talked to someone in the organization. And look, maybe the Jets know. Like, it's one of those things, right? Everyone can be had, yeah. But the Jets might have some idea, like, here's how much we value Jermaine. We know what it would take for a team to pry him away from us, and we know nobody's offering that. So we can just tell him now, hey, Jermaine, you're not going anywhere, man. Because we like you so much, it would take this, 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 and this. And we know maybe they've had calls. Maybe they've called people. Maybe the best offer they're getting is a 4. And they feel like, you know what? It would take a 2 and a 4. So this dude ain't going anywhere. But whatever it is, whatever the reason, it would appear the Jets have told Jermaine Johnson that he is not going anywhere. And he's excited about that. So that's obviously, you want guys who want to be here. And you get the feeling Jermaine Johnson does. And we've thrown around the names Jermaine Johnson, Quincy Williams are these guys who get dealt. Michael Carter, maybe, now that he's healthy or appears to be. He's coming back to practice. We'll see if anybody gets moved. But you want guys who want to be here. And we saw the difference immediately in the defense when Jermaine Johnson came back. He was phenomenal in that Denver game. Let's see. In the chat real quick. Sorry. My info just chimed in. They need to sell the team. That's the best way to go. I get what you're saying, my info, and we would all like that. But we just got to be realistic, man. It ain't happening. Like, the Johnson family, as far as I know, is not hurting for money. They like this toy. Most owners do. That's what this is to them. It's a toy. And we already know Brick is being groomed to take over. I mean, Brick is in on personnel meetings at 18 years old. So he is going to be what Stephen Jones is to Jerry Jones, Brick Johnson will be to Woody Johnson. The exception being Jerry Jones has a pretty phenomenal draft record and some Super Bowl rings. And those are Jimmy Johnson. I get it. Yeah. It's not happening. My info is my point. I've heard it a million times over and the way I always say it is, would you sell? I mean, think about it. If you owned the New York Jets as much as they suck and as much as we all think we'd fix them overnight, you would never sell. Why would you never sell? And Woody's not selling. Multi-billionaire, many, 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 many billions of dollars. and a son who is being groomed to take the team over. So a sale is not going to happen. Greg says in the chat, I wouldn't trade Jermaine Johnson even for a late first. Cornerback Jarvis Brownlee was a great pickup. Let's go Jets. Yeah, listen, that different people are going to have different values on players. I don't think Jermaine would even get you a late one. I mean, you look at what Micah Parsons went for, who is arguably top 3 defensive player in the NFL, at least pre-trade. And he didn't get nearly as much as I thought, or Dallas didn't get nearly as much as I thought. Lawrence says the Jets are worth $9.1 billion. I would have guessed around 10. New York market team, inflation, team prices just keep going up and up and up and up. It's a lot. It's a lot. But again, if you've got a few billion tucked away, you got $5 billion or $9 billion. Would you rather have $5 billion on a football team or $9 billion and no football team? It's the most prestigious sport in America. Probably the number 2 sport in the world in terms of popularity. Should be number 1, let's be honest. And there's only 32 teams. So, billionaires like toys. And a lot of them like toys that no one else can have. And when there's only 32 of them, then guess what? You're one of 32 on planet Earth. It's a way to separate yourself and have a level of status that's not easily achievable, no matter how much money you have. So, yeah, Woody's not selling, guys. I get the wanting Woody to sell, but it's not going to happen. But you know what is going to happen? Because this team has been such a magnet for negativity, and it's just been one negative story after another, which I understand. When you play poorly for 15 years, the stories aren't going to be very nice. And people don't care about silver linings when you're 0-7. People don't care about, hey, here's something that's going well. People don't want to hear about it. Well, you know what? You're about to hear about it. We're going to talk about some silver linings, because would it kill us to take 5 or 10 minutes to stop and think about some of the things that are going well for this team right now? What do you mean? I'm going to throw stuff, Glenn. Nothing's going well. That's not true. It's not true. Let's be honest. Let's talk for a second here about something that's going well. A couple of things that are going well for this team. First of all, quite obviously, the defense. The defense, through their first 5 games of the season, was giving up 26 points per game. And man, did it feel like 50. Teams were just moving the ball up and down the field with ease. It was disgusting. Now, the last 2 weeks, the Denver Broncos, who just scored 8,000 points in the final 9 minutes against the vaunted New York Giants defense. The Jets held them to 13 points 2 weeks ago. That's a hell of a defensive effort. 13 points. Then you play the Carolina Panthers, who are no juggernaut. They were able to run the ball a little bit. But Sauce Gardner completely shut down Ted McMillan, who is a stud, who's a 400-yard guy who had 2 touchdowns the week before. Ted McMillan's going to be a beast. Sauce completely shut him down. He had 1 target when I believe Sauce covered him for 24 reps, 1 target, and he batted it away. On the opposite side of Sauce Gardner, folks, let's give credit where it's due. One of the most unfair things I'm seeing on Twitter right now, on Jet Nation, as I always say, most active message board on the web, Jets message board on the web. Make sure you're on there. Check it out. But between what I see on Jet Nation and what I see on Twitter, people are still dogging out Brandon Stephens like it's week 1. And I dogged him out. I was like, yo, are we gonna have to replace this guy? Do we need a new starter by week 2? Week 3? This guy's not gonna last. Get ready, Azariah Thomas. Because Brandon Stephens can't play. Right? We were all saying it. And why? It wasn't because of 1 game. It was because of his previous 2 years in Baltimore. Both years in which he gave up 700-800 plus yards receiving, which is atrocious. So you see that on film. You look at the numbers, you watch him on film, you go, ooh, I'm not so sure about this guy. Then his first game, he's getting torched and smoked and lit up. And you're thinking, what a mistake this was. How much money do you pay this guy? This guy stinks. He's been pretty damn good. Got gradually better. Week 2 and 3 was like better than week 1, but still a couple things that made you worry. Now the past few weeks, and don't come to me when he gives up a touchdown, and nobody's saying he's going to, from this point on, be prime Deion Sanders. Prime. Nobody's saying that. All I'm saying is Brandon Stephens right now is playing like a very good number 2 corner, which is what he's being paid to be. So you got to like that, right? And we've been killing Aaron Glenn and the coaching staff all year. Let's give credit where it's due. Nice job with Brandon Stephens. They seem to have turned things around. I know nobody cares, but that's just the way it goes. When you're 0-7 in year 14, 15 of a playoff drought, nobody wants to hear the positives. But like I said, we're going to talk about a couple of them. And right now, Brandon Stephens is a positive. Net positive outside of week 1. Like I said, week 2 wasn't great, but I feel like he just has continuously gotten better. And Sauce Gardner. I mean, listen, it is maddening. It is insane. When you look, and I'm going to tweet this out later. I'm going to look up the numbers later on because I did it in the offseason, and now we've got another 7 games of sample size. The number of pass plays that these two guys are on the field for and can't intercept a ball is insane. It's insane. They've got to be like over 1,000 pass attempts since one of them had an interception. I'm not saying targets. I'm just saying number of times the ball is in the air. Because look, sometimes you peel off your coverage and get a pick. Sometimes there's a ball batted and you get a pick that way. You don't always have to be the targeted corner on an interception. Sometimes you make a play. Sometimes you anticipate well. Right? Tip ball drill. Get in there. High point it. Take it. Pull it down. They just don't do that. It's unbelievable. So I don't mean to veer off into being critical, but Jesus, it's unbelievable. Like how many games can you go without a pick? Even Jamal Adams. Remember, I think Jamal Adams, one of his first interceptions. I mean, he only had a couple. I remember he had 0 1 year forever, and like one fell in his lap. That might have been with Seattle against the Packers, and Aaron Rodgers' ball got tipped, and Jamal Adams was sitting down, and it literally fell in his lap. Like, when is that going to happen to Sauce or Brandon Stephens? It's unbelievable. But Brandon Stephens, let's give him credit. Like I said, he's really turned things around. We'll hop in the chat again real quick. Gregory says the Jets should trade Michael Carter. This, I think, is on the table with the addition of Brownlee. I think Woody gets a bad rap. Ooh, I think he kind of deserves one at this point, Gregory. Jets fans know how the rebuild would not come overnight. Well, that's the thing is they didn't need a full rebuild. They have an offensive line. They have, as I was just discussing, they've got some players on defense, and they've been atrocious. Again, they've improved of late. And then he says Brandon Stephens has played much better. Azariah Thomas is one of the best third-round picks. Yeah, Thomas has looked good. He gave up, yes, I get he gave up the big completion, to close the game out the other day. But again, he's got, he's played about 40 reps, I believe. He's got a couple of PBUs. He's made plays when he's had the opportunity. Not every time. He hasn't been perfect, but just some positive signs from him. DYSL says, happy someone's talking about the positives. Yeah, it's hard to do, man. I'm not here to try to paint a pretty picture where it shouldn't be, but I think it's, there are enough good things happening that we shouldn't be. It doesn't do us any good to sit here and say nothing is going right, nothing is changing, nothing's turning around. Not true. Defense, we're seeing that, specials have been better. Kenny Nwangu, I don't know if this guy can stay healthy. Constantly injured. This could be an issue. Isaiah Williams hasn't fumbled, right? So there we go. He's actually looked all right on a couple of his returns. And listen, I'm going to root for anybody who's on the team. But I look at a guy like Isaiah Williams and a dude that people wanted cut after a bad game, one. And it was a terrible game. The fumble, the fair catch of the two, unbelievable. But I don't feel like you end a guy's career for one game. And I'm glad the Jets brought him back, and I'm glad he's been solid since then. back to the positives, back to the things that are going well, which, again, is primarily on defense, but you got Stevens and Sauce on the corners, and then Malachi Moore at safety has taken Tony Adams' job, as many of us thought he would. Some people thought he might win it at a camp. Some people said he'd steal it by midseason. Well, here we are. We are now, I guess it would have been 2 weeks ago, so a couple of weeks short of midseason. Malachi Moore is starting, and he's playing well. He's not playing great, but he's doing the things we expected him to do. Fundamentally sound guy who, yes, he had some missed tackles early on, but the past couple of weeks, he has looked like an upgrade at safety. So it's like, okay, now you've got a round 4 guy who's on the field as a starter at a time when the defense is starting to turn things around. So logically, he's part of that. So that's a really good thing. So look at that. Now you got a safety who's playing well as a rookie. You've got 2 solid corners. And I mean, Sauce is better than solid. And Brandon Stevens, you just wish they could get a damn pick. And then up front, how about let's give a little credit? And again, I don't know if this credit goes to Muji or Aaron Glenn. Could be either one of them. But whoever looked at Juwan Briggs and said, let's go see if we can get this guy for a day 3 pick. They call the Cleveland Browns. They make a move. The guy's looked really good. He has looked like a future starter for this team. And you got him for pennies. You get a starting player for a 6-7 swap. Great. I'll take it. So you've got a promising young tackle. You've got Jermaine Johnson is staying. Quinnen Williams had a monster game the other day. You people who are obsessed with sacks need to understand there's more to the game than that. Quinnen Williams was a monster against Carolina. And I got people, how many sacks did he have? Dude, if you stop the running back at or around the line of scrimmage 4 or 5 times in big spots, a couple of them, I mean, hell, when games are that close, they're all big spots if you're trying to get the first damn win of the season. But Quinnen Williams is phenomenal. So you've got Quinnen, who, again, I've said trade him. You know, that was a post-game comment I think I've said in years past. Can't be held accountable. Any comments within 24 to 48 hours of a Jets loss, sometimes I need to decompress. And I wouldn't hate the idea of trading Quinnen Williams, but I would love for him to stay a Jet for life. But I look at this team and think they need assets. And I've laid it out before. He's going to be 30 before they're good again. He'll probably be tired of the losing by then and opt to walk away in free agency. So if you can get something, get it. But my first choice would be, hell yeah, like I want that dude on my team. He's a monster. So yeah, let Quinnen stay. Let's get JJ extended. You got Juwan Briggs, a nice piece next to him. Quincy Williams, he's a guy who may get dealt. Francisco Mauigoa, another rookie linebacker, or another rookie player who's played well at times recently. Again, hasn't been perfect, but he's shown signs of being able to elevate his game and maybe get to a point where you're like, all right, this guy might be a starter for us. And maybe that happens. Maybe that's what actually happens. Maybe you do deal Quincy Williams, who's a great player. Look, I love Quincy Williams too. I wish there was a way for him to stay. But I think this team, and especially as I said the other day, if you're the 49ers, how are you not calling the Jets? Quincy Williams, that's newsworthy, by the way. Quincy Williams' practice window is open. He's back with the team now. He's back practicing. If he has 1 or 2 monster games, then would you be surprised if the 49ers call and say, hey, give us that all-pro linebacker who knows the system because we just lost the best linebacker in the NFL, Fred Warner. So that, look, could it happen? And if it doesn't, let it work out. Let Quincy stay too. Quinnen, Briggs, JJ, Sauce, and improved Stevens, Malachi Moore impressing. Do you start to notice like, oh, there's some legit pieces in place here. There's some quality players in place. There's something to build around here. The problem, however, and we know, becomes the offense, where it doesn't look like it because of the quarterback play, but the offensive line is good. No, they're not perfect. Look, Armand Membu has struggled a little bit more in recent weeks than he did early in the year. And he had a play in the game the other day where he got beat badly. I tweeted it out and said, look, Membu's been shaky, not giving up on the guy, not trashing the guy, just saying after a really hot start, he's struggling a little. And of course, I get a reply, oh, look at this. And people say Fields has time to throw. You can give up a couple pressures and still be categorized as someone who has time to throw. As I've said, because if, look, I get not everyone catches every stat and every piece of news. But as I've said the other day and said to someone earlier today, actually, it was pointed out after the Jets lost that 9 sacks Justin Fields took. His average time from snap to sack was over 5 seconds. That is an eternity by NFL standards. The benchmark, the point that everyone looks at and says, here's where the ball's got to be out, is 2.5 seconds. When you've got the ball 3 seconds, 4 seconds, and 5 seconds, and you're getting sacked, that ain't the O-line. And I don't have the numbers in front of me right now, but unless I'm mistaken, of the 9 sacks Justin Fields took, he had 5 seconds or more on 8 of them, or 4.5 seconds or more. Plenty of time. Just put it that way. He had plenty of time to throw far more often than not. Yes, guys get beat sometimes. Yes, guys get beat off the snap sometimes. Sometimes there's a blitz and the defense has the numbers and you have no chance, and the quarterback is down within a second or two. That happens. But by and large, the opportunity to sit back, scan the field, and throw the football is there. But because Justin Fields has been so bad, teams can stack the box. Then teams have the numbers against the run game, and all of a sudden you can't run the ball. And then people are going, the backs are averaging 3 a carry. The quarterback's getting sacked 7, 8 times. This offensive line is terrible. No, they're not. The quarterback starts hitting on a few throws, back the defense up a little bit. You can't just keep putting all your defenders in the box to shut down Breece Hall. All of a sudden, things are going a lot smoother. Real quick again in the chat, Gregory, thanks for chiming in here, Gregory, with a few comments. Malachi Moore was a steal. I think that was the consensus at the time. As I said, a lot of folks, I think nationally, not just Jets fans, but you saw the draft Nick saying this could be a 4th round starter, and that's what he's turned out to be. Briggs has been a gem, absolutely. Here's a great question from Gregory, because I've been wondering the same thing. Where's Jelani Woods? I would love to know this. Jelani Woods, 6'7" monster, excellent blocker. Thought he was going to be, I didn't think he was going to be a featured, a focal part of the offense, but I thought he'd get some reps by now. He's just inactive every week. He's never on the injury report. He's had injury issues, but he's never been on the Jets injury report that I can recall. Correct me if I'm wrong. But as far as I know, he's been healthy and not playing at all. I would trade our first pick in the 2026 season, says Gregory. I wouldn't. You're going to be picking at the top. Take the quarterback. And Gregory says, don't forget Will McDonald. No, I won't, Gregory. I was about to get to Will McDonald earlier, but I also want to point out, and I've said this before, if the Jets are looking to make a deal, I could see Will McDonald being someone Aaron Glenn looks at and says, he's not fitting what we do. He's got 2 sacks this year, maybe 2.5. He's been a non-factor against the run, and he's got 2 sacks. And it reminds me of back when Aaron Glenn was a player. For those of you who are old enough, the Jets had an edge rusher, a young edge rusher who had won Defensive Player of the Year, named Hugh Douglas out of Central State, double-digit sack guy. Bill Parcells walked in and was like, this guy doesn't fit what I do. Bye. And sent them to the Eagles, where he had a phenomenal career. Got like a 3 and a 5, that was 3 and a 5, something along those lines. So Aaron Glenn could be looking at this going, you know what? I saw Bill do this. I saw Bill take a guy who was highly talented. He's another guy. San Fran's lost a ton of players. Maybe Joe Douglas, who drafted him. The Eagles need help at pass rusher. I know they brought Brandon Graham back, but he's older. He's, if he has no impact over the next couple of weeks before the trade deadline, might Joe Douglas call his boss, Howie Roseman, and say, hey, man, the Jets might give us Will McDonald. I drafted him, wide 9. Let him use that spin move, get after the quarterback. And maybe we see Will McDonald go to the Eagles. Maybe we see Will McDonald go to the Niners. And maybe he stays too. I'm looking at this as, I think the Jets, they don't have a ton of picks. And, they're going to get comp picks. Right. They're going to get a few day 3 picks. They don't have picks that are going to They don't have premium picks, and Will McDonald might be able to get you one. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But again, so offensively, right? Let's talk about the silver linings nobody cares about. Offensive line's been fine. They've been better than fine. They've been quite good. And they're all young. They should continue being quite good. John Simpson, like, it's looking like last year was the outlier, right? When they signed him, we were all like, Jesus, this guy had 10, 11, 12 penalties last year. You don't need another penalty machine. You just got rid of one in Mekhi Becton. I think the other day I said it was Tomlinson, but it was Becton, of course, who had all those penalties the previous year. And then John Simpson's awesome last year. Flags weren't an issue. And then this year it's been terrible. It's like, okay, he's going to have 10 this year. He didn't have 10 last year. But I think he had 3 the other day. Definitely 2, maybe 3. So John Simpson, he's got to clean that up. I understand that, but still very good player. And he's not an old guy either. I'd have no issue with them bringing him back. Olu has been better of late, struggled a little bit early on. Kind of the flip of Membu. Membu started out hot. And again, I'm not trashing either of these guys. Just saying they had a few more reps than you'd like where they were getting beaten. But either way, the body of work as a whole, what you've got is 2 good young tackles. You've got, and Josh Myers, by the way, let's show him a little love. I trashed him this offseason. And it wasn't really about him as much as why are we even considering replacing him or replacing Tippmann with him? Then the AVT injury happens and then it becomes a necessity, so nobody cares. Like, all right, well, I get it. Like, AVT's down, Tippmann's the better guard, go ahead and do it. But when AVT was healthy and it was like, oh, he might start over Tippmann, at first you're like, oh, it's coach speak. And then training camp rolls around and he's running with the ones consistently. And it's like, all right, well, maybe this is for show. And then camp is getting close to ending and he's still running with the ones a lot. And you're like, this is getting ridiculous. This dude is like taking a lot of Joe Tippmann's reps at center, and the season's here in like 10, 11 days. And then again, AVT gets hurt. So not it. But let's give him credit. He's been good. He hasn't been great. But I feel like he's been, well, maybe I'm just speaking for myself. He has exceeded my expectations. So nice job by him. Maybe he comes back. Maybe he doesn't. I think interior O-line is something the Jets will address in the draft at some point or free agency. But the offensive line has been good. Mason Taylor has been good. It's so hard when your quarterback is playing the way Justin Fields is. It's damn near impossible to grade these anyone who's a pass catcher. Breece Hall, we know that dude can do damage as a pass catcher. He just doesn't get the targets. Is it the play calls? Does Justin Fields not like throwing to a halfback? It makes no sense. I mean, last week, when we knew Garrett Wilson was out, I was convinced Breece Hall is getting 12 targets today. You don't have another receiver on the field. 12 targets for Breece. 3. He had 3 targets. Best receiver on the field. Arian Smith. I thought this guy's going to see 3, 4 deep shots. A, they can't score. B, Garrett Wilson is out. C, Justin Fields said himself, it's time to start pushing the ball down the field. 1 deep shot to Arian Smith. And batted away by the DB. Was it 2? Did they go to him early in the game? It may have been 2. I can recall a deep shot down the left sideline where he was grossly overthrown, but I think that may have been the week before. Not enough. How about that? Let's go with that. Rather than trying to remember the exact number, let's just say not enough deep shots for Arian Smith, considering the fact that nobody else is emerging as a receiver. But you've got Mason Taylor developing. Obviously, you're good with Garrett Wilson. Your O-line is good. That ain't nothing, folks. The Jets really are, if we're going to be honest, and this is coming from the guy who has said they're going to be bad this year and they're going to be bad next year. There is a world, if they hit on the quarterback, which we know is the world's biggest if the Jets hit on the quarterback and get a wide receiver 2 in free agency or use their second rounder on a wide receiver 2, O-line will be good. Quarterback will be better. No, I'm not saying you draft a rookie who's going to throw 50 touchdowns. But let's say your O-line stays good, your quarterback gets better, your receiver room gets deeper. All of a sudden, On days when your defense shows up and gives up 13 points, those are wins. Maybe on a day when your defense gives up 21 points, you win. Imagine that. But as frustrating, and I get it. In no way, shape, or form am I trying to sit here and say, this team's not bad. This team's really good. And I don't know why everyone's so upset. Hell yeah, we're upset. It's about to be a 15-year playoff. It is a 15-year playoff drought. Season ain't over, don't matter. 15-year playoff drought's here. Might hit 16. Probably will hit 16. But that's not to say there aren't a lot of pieces in place to turn this thing around. What's it going to take? A quarterback, wide receiver 2, and some coaching. I don't know who the quarterback coach is going to be. Look, nothing personal against Charles London, but bring in a guy who has done it. And I've said before, this is where having pick 1 could pay off in a big way. Because that might be the number 1 carrot you have to dangle to get an offensive mind in here. To say, hey, dude, we have pick 1. You're going to sit down. You're going to be our QB coach pre-draft. You're going to go on the visits. You're going to sit on all the meetings with the scouts. And you are going to be the most important voice in the room when it comes to who we bring in. You do that if it gets you someone who's done it before. Whether it's luring a guy from another team or, someone whose contract expires and you want to get them to come to you instead of staying where they are. Just make it happen. Just be aggressive and don't hand the keys, not to the team so much, but to the new quarterback. Don't be like, we have pick 1, we're getting a QB, and we're going to give him to a guy who we have no idea whether or not he can develop a quarterback because he's never done it before. Can't have that. Can't repeat that mistake. It's happened too many times. The Greg Knapp situation, tragic and unbelievable, really. That things happen the way they did. The one time it seemed like the Jets were going to do it right and say, let's bring in a guru who's done it. And things go the way they went with Knapp, who was tragically killed. Unbelievable. But look, this is the life of a Jets fan. It's absolutely ridiculous, the things that happen to this team. You can make a movie about how absurd a lot of the events are. And many of us have been here long enough to have lived through a lot of it. And look, we all want it to turn around. I want it to turn around. I'm not optimistic it's going to anytime soon, but that doesn't mean there isn't some good stuff in place here. Okay? There are some really good things in place. That quarterback, receiver 2, quarterback coach. Get those 3 things, and maybe you prove me wrong, and you go to the playoffs next year. Crazier things have happened. And we all get down on this damn team. But how do you not? I've had a couple people say that. People are being too negative. Yeah. I mean, look, I just sat here and laid out some of the positives that are happening, right? There are good things. I'm not going to get mad at people for not seeing that. We're pissed. Of course we're pissed. Why wouldn't we be? And when you're pissed, you don't always think rationally. You don't want to always take a minute to step back and say, what's right and what's wrong. And that's why there's some of your what's right. Whether you wanted to hear it or not, there's some stuff there to work with. There's some good players on this team. And they could be a couple of key guys away from competing next year. So that'll wrap this one up. Thanks for tuning in, Jets fans. Have a good one.